13 News Now reporter Jacqueline Lee sat down with a local rabbi who has some insight on what the embassy opening means for the Jewish community here in Hampton Roads.
And Jacqueline joins us in the studio now with that part of the story.
That's right, Janet and David. I spoke with Virginia Beach Rabbi Israel Zilberman about his personal journey to the United States from Israel. He explained that while the embassy's opening is controversial, it represents hope and legitimacy for the Jewish community.
You have to understand what it's like to have lived in Europe through the war.
The beginning of Rabbi Israel Zilberman's life was fraught with fear and uncertainty.
We were starving in Siberia and Kazakhstan.
That's him on the right.
Here I am, cute little boy.
As World War II came to a close, his family lived in Germany as Polish refugees. They immigrated to Israel, which became the salvation for thousands of Jews around the world.
Following World War II and the Holocaust, openly declaring to the world, we are still alive.
Zilberman moved to the U.S. at 21 and built a life in Hampton Roads. Now, decades later, the U.S. moved its embassy to Jerusalem. Zilberman gave his 97-year-old mother a call. She's a Holocaust survivor.
With tears in my eyes, tears in her eyes, knowing that this is a blessed day.
But not everyone views it as such. ODU Professor Aaron Karp explains the embassy move tells Palestinians that the United States won't mediate a solution, which is why the region is now engulfed in protests.
The two-state solution is gone. That's permanently gone. It can't happen. So the Israelis have been told they're the winners. The Palestinians have been told they're the losers.
But Zilberman hopes the embassy move will bring change.
And I hope that all the Arabs will come to recognize that this is also an opportunity for them to join hands.
Jacqueline Lee, 13 News Now.